line. I know that we follow the great Ernest Holmes, teacher, spiritual leader, but I am getting ready to dip into some unity stuff. Catherine Ponder was one of the great unity ministers, and Johnny Coleman called him his prosperity. She is one of the first ones to talk about prosperity, but I want to talk to you about what is prosperity, because like, how can I get up here and talk about prosperity? Well, you got to understand what prosperity is. According to Catherine Ponder, prosperity is peace, hello, plenty, and health. It includes money, oh, absolutely, but it is peace, plenty, and health. So let me just tell you a little bit about who she is and why I chose to talk about her. So she was born, I'm going to look at my notes, she was born on February 14th, 1927. She is still alive and thriving. She's in her late 90s. She lives in Palm Springs. She started 3 ministries from scratch, and she spent her entire life speaking, teaching, and preaching about how to get peace, plenty, and health. But here's one story I want to tell you. If you all are familiar with Catherine Ponder, and if you're familiar with Catherine Ponder, one of the sayings that people know is not "this is something better." I think you didn't know maybe "this is something better" comes from Catherine Ponder, but when we're saying our prayers, you often hear us say, "We like this is something better." That is implanted, came through Catherine Ponder. But another famous saying Catherine Ponder says all the time, she says, "There's gold dust in the air." There's gold dust in the air, right? So, but I want to tell you about the person. I started really researching about the person. So Catherine Ponder went to the Unity School, and she went to the Unity School in the 1950s, 1956. She was ordained in 1958 as a Unity minister and been preaching ever since. But when she was at the Unity School in Lee Summit, Missouri, it was segregated times. It was the 1950s. And she had in her class another one of the most powerful ministers that has ever lived, and that person's name is Johnny Coleman. Johnny Coleman was one of the first African American ministers to go through the Unity classes at Unity Village. But here's the thing. Johnny Coleman could not stay at Unity Village, and Johnny Coleman could not eat with her classmates because it was segregation time, right? And the story goes, one day, and you guys remember, we just come through a rainy spell. There was this rainy spell, there were potholes in it. It was a rainy, messy day. She hit a pothole, she wasn't getting there in time, and she kind of had like one of those little like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, kind of little breakdowns, right? But help came, and she finally got to Unity Village. And when she got to Unity Village, I think the other classmates didn't really know what she was going through. They didn't really understand it. And she told them sort of through the tears and whatever, what was happening. And Catherine Ponder and all of her classmates signed a petition so that Johnny Coleman could stay on campus. They put pressure on the then dean, which was the son of Phil Morris. They put pressure on him. And don't boo-hoo, this is a step. She got to stay on campus in the servants' quarters. We'll take it one step at a time. We'll take it one step at a time. And that was the first step. Now that's the story that I found about Johnny Coleman. But Catherine Ponder tells a different story about Johnny Coleman because they were lifelong friends. And this is very important. And what I realized in studying Catherine Ponder's life is that she was always an ally. She was always out in front. She was always open and welcoming to African American ministers. Even during times of segregation, they found ways in which to connect and to share the word and to teach. But it's a funny story about Catherine Ponder, so the story Catherine Ponder tells, that's the story that Johnny Coleman tells about how her classmates stood up for her. But Catherine Pollard was doing a lecture. She was doing a lecture on the dynamic laws of prosperity, which is one of her most famous books. And she was going around town doing them. And she was with Johnny Coleman. They were running around. They were running around to a Marshall Field store just to look around. And Catherine Pollard was going over towards where the diamonds were. And Johnny Coleman said, "Ponder, stay away from there." And so she said, "I sunk while the clerks, the security officers, the customers, heaven knows who else looked at me as though I were a diamond thief." And Johnny was saving them for the day. After we left the store, I asked Johnny, "Why did you do that to me?" "Ponder," Johnny Coleman said, "I have a problem with you and diamonds." I was puzzled. How could that be? I don't even have any diamonds. Catherine said, "I don't even have any diamonds." She said, "The problem is Johnny Coleman, every time you come to town to lecture on prosperity, members of my congregation give me diamonds. Most are diamond rings. And each one expects me to wear their diamond. And I have a drawer full of diamond rings. So the last thing I need is for you to look at diamonds in Marshall Fields on display and visualize them. Because you're just opening up a way for more diamonds to come to me, and I've already got too many." Catherine Pollard says, in silent prayer, she said, "God, don't get me wrong, I'm delighted for Johnny's congregation, so generous and all of that. She got all those diamond rings, but what about me? I'm the one who wrote the books." Anyway, she goes on to say that the longer you have to wait for your good, the bigger your good is going to be. And she did indeed meet a man who treated her like she should be treated and brought her diamond rings from Tiffany. So, got her diamond rings. She had one son, his name is Richard. She had 3 marriages that each led her to better growth. And each time the person had died, and she spent many years with them. So the thing is, I can tell you a lot of, I'm going to call it tricks, to get some money, and get some money quick, right? You want to do that? Read Catherine Pollard. Right. Read Catherine Pollard. But because I love you, see what I said? I'm going to tell you how to stay rich. But first, let's talk about what wealth is and what richness is. And I'm going to go back. You know, I'm the book teacher, so I got to go back here. So Catherine Pollard is unity. Unity is Bible-based. She wants you to know that if you've got a problem with wealth, you shouldn't, because God wants you to be wealthy. And she wants you to know that there were millionaires in the Bible and 1 billionaire. And as a matter of fact, they couldn't have probably done what they needed to do if they didn't have the resources to do it, okay? So the millionaires of Genesis. The other thing I like about Catherine Pollard is she doesn't just study the Bible, she studies the ancient mystery schools, going all the way back to Egypt. And it is absolutely just threaded in to her work, just very easily and effortlessly. So she's going to talk about this magic word for wealth that is in the Bible. And just let you know that God wants you to be wealthy. So here's one of the first prosperity secrets that we learned from early millionaires. The Bible describes a man's wealth often in terms of substance. The word substance was magic for wealth in Bible times. The wealth of Abraham and Lot is described as their substance was great. Joseph's wealth was described as he was made Lord of his house, ruler of all his substance. That's in Psalms 105:20. I can quote the Bible verses too. Psalms 105:21. Job's vast wealth was described in terms of substance, Job 1. And then King David appointed stewards to take care of all the substance. It goes on and on and on. But what I want to get down to is the word substance. It dates back to much earlier than biblical times. The cultural classes among the ancient Egyptians, they knew that there was only one substance underlying everything. What did the Egyptians know? Underlying everything. But it was a well-guarded secret. They felt that it was unwise for common laborers to learn that substance was used to build the fabled pyramids, and that same substance was used when priests performed their feats of magic. So in studying symbiology of the Bible, you'll soon discover that the Bible is the study of substance and how to mold it into tangible abundance. And substance, let's carry it on a little bit. Substance means, it actually means that which stands under all forms of visible life. And metaphysicians have described it as the body of God, out of which all things are formed through the action of the mind. So we know that everything starts and begins in the mind, that all thought is creative and influential, and that substance starts and ends in the mind. And matter of fact, it's your thought, your prayer, that energy, that is the connection between the unseen and the seen and bringing it forth, right? We know that. And there are many ways, like I said earlier, to sort of turn over $500 quick. You know, it's easy, it's quick. But how do you get sustaining wealth? How do you get, 500 is not wealth, that's just plain money. But how do you get sustaining wealth, right? How do you get sustaining wealth? Now, somebody's already doors. Because the secret to sustaining wealth is tithing.
Yes.
The secret to wealth building over time, the way if you want to dig yourself out of that hole, is tithing.
Yep.
Tithing means 1/10, and in the mystery schools, 1/10 was the magic number. So I want to just talk to you about tithing, because then people may have a little resistance to it. I had a little resistance to it myself. I mean, 1/10, I'm like, come on, people. But what happened was, people didn't tell folks the benefits of tithing for themselves. When people talk about tithing, they usually talk about the benefits for the church. But the church is only one place that you tithe. So there are 3 types of tithes. I know I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to go into attitude of tithing. Okay? So there are 3 places that you tithe. First, you tithe to some place that gives you, and from Catherine, it says spiritual inspiration. Now, if that's the church you at, give that 10% there. If it's the church you looking at after you go to the church you at, give a little bit to them. So that's what we're talking about. 1/10, and impartial movement. It will help you dig out of debt each time. And you're like, why? Why would it help you dig out of debt? It helps you dig out of debt because it is just enough to push you to the edge, and it is just enough for you to really start focusing on that finance. And as you give it, people have told stories of all of the benefits and how their life has changed when they moved into that 1/10. But this is the thing, you cannot give it a perfunctory way. Ooh, I said that correctly. You have to give with joy. You have to give in a space of love. You have to give in a space of knowing that it's growing, and you just let it go, right? So you tithe in that 1/10. But guess what? So in the olden days, there were 3 tithes. There was a tithe to the church, or to that place of spiritual inspiration, which we're going to call the church or your center, right? There was a tithe to festivals. And so the Jewish people had to go to Israel. They had to go make trips to Israel, and they had to give their best cows, their best goats, their best wine, in order to have a really good festival. But what they've done is as we come into modern days, and we're all not making sort of a pilgrimage back, the second tithe is the tithe to yourself. And it's a tithe to yourself. So, and other things, wait, I gotta go back. I'm going to go back to the first tithe, and I'll be back to the second tithe in a minute. The first tithe is that God is the source of everything. And if God is the bottom of everything, then give to God, show God your gratefulness by giving back to that place that gives you spiritual inspiration, right? The second tithe to yourself is a tithe about you and where you get spiritual inspiration. So my second tithe, I know coming up soon is going to be to the World Parliament of Religions, because I'm going to the World Parliament of Religions in August. It's a place where God is visible in my life. It's kind of like a festival. It's kind of like going to a religious convention. But whatever it is that gives you joy, isn't that wonderful? If you think, I'm going to take 10% and give it to, if it's painting that gives you joy, and you feel God there. If it's gardening that gives you joy, and you feel God there. Give a tenth to yourself. You're not just giving to God. give to God, give to yourself, and then the third type of tithing, and it's one that you see here on a monthly basis, is a tithing to charity. So tithing is that key to long-term sustainable wealth, and it has changed people's lives. And if you're not at a 10, to the 10, but work up with it in joy, work up with it in love, right? So that's the first thing. That will change your life. That alone will change your life. And it doesn't matter whether you like me or Rick or anybody. If this is the place that gives you the inspiration, give to this place.
Amen.
Okay? Yeah. So it's not about me or Rick or anybody. It's about you and what you need and want in your life. So everything I'm telling you now is to help build your wealth consciousness, your consciousness of ability. So Emerson calls this whole thing, he calls it the law of all laws, but it's the law of all laws. And it's giving and it's receiving. And if the giving is out of balance, you've got to give and receive. It's a circulation, right? And if you're out of balance, then things are out of balance. So it's giving and receiving. So I first talked to you about giving, and giving in a specific way, and giving financial. And some people say, well, shouldn't we give time, and shouldn't we give, what is it, time, talent? Yes, please give that. Please give that. But the millionaires of the Bible gave money. Just saying. Just saying. So the second part about receiving. How do you receive? Well, in order to receive, and you all know this, I'm telling you nothing you don't know, I'm here to remind you, is you create a vacuum. You create a vacuum in your life, okay? And you can do it two ways. You do it physically and you do it mentally. So I'm going to go over both those ways. So to create a vacuum physically, it's just clearing the clutter. It's just giving away things. We have this opportunity now. Tamara just told you we're going to give clothes away. So let's create that vacuum for a new outfit to show up, for whatever it is that you need. Let's just clear out things and give them away. Release them out into the universe. And the universe abhors a vacuum. So something will come in. And remember, we're not just talking about money, we're talking about health, and we're talking about peace. Peace is the big one. All right, so create that vacuum. Whatever it is you got to do to create that vacuum. I've definitely created the vacuum, and that vacuum is filled up immediately. Just give. But remember, not out of proportion, you have to receive. So we're preparing ourselves to receive. It's easy. It's so easy. Maybe it's easy for some, not easier for others, but it's very easy for me to sort of clean out the closet and give away the bag. For a season, I said I was going to give away like 40 bags. Just go through my house every day. It's Lent time, a certain time to Easter, and just give out bags. And I've been able to give a few bags away. So creating that vacuum. The second thing, though, and it may be a little harder for others, it may not, but this here is really where the testimony comes from my perspective and how my life did change. It was through forgiveness. It was through forgiveness. Forgiveness is such an easy thing to say. I forgive you. And did you see a picture of that whole anyway? And you got to forgive yourself all over again. You got to forgive yourself. Right? He said, I thought I worked on that. I thought that was over. You know. So don't feel bad about that. Forgiveness is something that's hard to do. But Catherine Ponder, she is all about forgiveness. And she is all about affirmations. Right? She's all about affirmations. Why affirmations? affirmations. Why do affirmations work? You might ask yourself, why do affirmations work? Because we are vibratory beings, and affirmations are the sound, and sound is vibratory. So, you know, you can, if you're musically inclined, you can make that affirmation a song, something you sing to yourself, something that you can depend on, but it's vibratory. And that's why we say them out loud. It's okay to say them inside, but it's nice to say them out loud also. So I want to help us create a vacuum. I want to help us create a vacuum mentally. So we're just going to do a little. I want you to think about maybe someone that you are having an issue with, a conflict with, or someone you want to bring a little closer. And I'm going to read this declaration, this affirmation out. So do we have that person in mind? I definitely do. God's forgiving love has set us free. Divine love now produces perfect results, and all is again well between us. I behold you with the eyes of love. I glory in your success, your prosperity, and complete good. And I declare that I am forgiven and governed by God's love alone, and all is well. All is well. And then, we take a deep breath and let that go. So when you forgive yourself, I love this. When you forgive yourself, and you think it's done, but the picture pops up again, and you realize there's some heat on it, you just say, you just re-forgive yourself. And this is one I can really relate to. I fully and freely release you. I completely loose you and let you go. So far as I'm concerned, you have served your purpose in my wardrobe, and I no longer need you. You are now in your perfect place. And I like to add, far away from me. So, because I love you and because of these things, I went out, and there's on the outside, there's a few, and I'll give these. There's a few of these copies. There's a few of these affirmations that are out there that you can use to speak over your life, because because you want to release the person in love. You want to see their wealth. You want to see their prosperity. You want to see their success, because what you give out comes back. So, you know, they're not really you know what. So these are there, and I just want to tell you a little story. And I cannot tell you the actual demonstration that I have, because I feel like it's so private and it's so huge. But I'll tell you how I got there, okay? And how I got there was I had a death in my family. My mother's husband died. So I went to clean out the room where he died. And it was in the cleaning and the clearing and the throwing away everything, and I mean I threw away everything, going through all the papers. It was in those moments of then going back to where I was sleeping and crying and letting it go, just really letting it go, that at a certain point a breakthrough came, and I thought about this person whose room I was cleaning out who had just died, and I thought, I'm so grateful for this person because of how he has treated my mother over the past, 20-some years, how she has loved him and kept her, you know. And I moved from the clearing and the cleaning and the forgiveness for all the junky things people say, because, you know, everything's called a love or special love. So I went through all of that, but I went from cleaning and clearing to forgiveness to gratitude and total release. And it was a sloppy release, because it was a lot of tears. It was a private thing. But when that was truly released, and I can actually look at that person and look at their life and be grateful for them and all that they do to me, and now I kind of see them everywhere, but in their glory, because they're going on to the next plane, right? If I see them in their glory, and I'm grateful for the little things that they have taught me, that problem that I have, it's gone. It's like gone. It disappeared. And I'm working on that sustainable wealth. And let me tell you something. When you tithe, it's a consistent practice. Captain Bonnie says, if you really want to delve into this, 30 minutes every day forgiving people. So just forgive and release and clear. So I just want you to know that don't be afraid of peace, of plenty, and of good health, of wholeness, of substance in your life. Because it is through that not only are you blessed, but you have the ability to bless others. So that's why I can speak about prosperity at this time. It's creating a vacuum, physically and mentally, and it's tithing for the sustainable prosperity. So let's take this message into prayer. So I am knowing that there is one power and one source that is the substance, that is the very essence of the universe, that is the ethers of the universe. I know that this one source is the source of all joy, all love, all happiness. And that source is mine right here and right now. It is each and every person's here right now. And I just speak my word. I speak my word that source is opening amazing channels to each and every one of us to obtain peace and plenty and health. Oh, I'm so grateful and thankful. I am so grateful and thankful to know these prosperity secrets of the ages, to know this ancient wisdom born anew in me and as in each and every person here. And I just know that it is good and all good that each person in this community prospers, that this center prospers, that Rick looks like Reverend Ike with diamonds on his fingers. I just know that prosperity is all that there is, that health is all that there is, that wealth is all that there is, and that it is good. And it's good because it is God in form. And so I simply say, all right, this is where it's a lot.